Hello, and welcome to another episode of Philosophy. I'm your host, Justin Lamb, and today I have Wendy Pierce, another of Joshua Teaching's graduates. She's been involved in the community for a long time, one of the founding members, I would say, and I'm excited to talk to her about her experiences with the teachings of Joshua, law of attraction, and just life in general. How are you doing, Wendy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Justin.
You're welcome. Very welcome. I mean, of course, you're one of the first ones who have started the
Yes.
talks with Joshua, the non-physical
Yes.
entity, and I think you're one of the ones I was on probably the most podcast. Obviously Kyla, you, two of the main ones.
Yeah.
I could see how from audience's perspective, we were able to see your development or hear your development.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how was that? Well, maybe let's start with how did you get in touch with the Joshua community or Joshua?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. I started with Joshua in 2016, I believe. I'm looking at my date here because we went on a cruise. Yeah, 2016. And I started the one-on-one program in August of 2016. And I have three sons. I really enjoyed being a mom. I put 110% into raising my sons. And I also had a design business and a real estate business. And I was just go, 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 go. And then my sons went off to college. And I found myself feeling like I had no purpose. Like I realized that I was anchoring all my self-worth and all my value to my sons. And so when they were gone and they become, successful young men, it was all good. I felt like I'd lost my purpose. And I went into a deep depression and I got very ill. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease and fibromyalgia. And for, a few years, I just felt like crap. I mean, there were days I couldn't get out of bed. I had migraines, just nasty stuff. Well, I followed Abraham Hicks for a while and it resonated, but I never quite figured out, how do I make this work? That sounds great, but how do I do this? It's like, I'm way down here. How do I get up here? Or how do I just get a little bit up here? And so didn't really get it. Well, Steve Fanitza, who was one of the original people with Gary when Gary started bringing forth Joshua, he's one of my husband's best friends. And so he had stopped by on a Saturday morning just to say, hey, and they were sitting in the backyard and I kind of stumbled out and I was like, hey, how are you? And he's like, man, you don't look good. I go, I don't feel good, So he's like, well, I want you to listen to something. I want you to, go to this, podcast. I want you to listen. So it was Gary, the round table was the first thing with, Gary and Steve and Kyla not Gary and Kyla, a couple other people, Janine and Michael, I think were their names. And they've since, I don't know what happened to them, but so I listened to that and it really resonated. It was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of like the how to put all this into practice. So Gary was starting a one-on-one program and Steve was the first to do that. And then I think Kyla was like the second one. And I was the third or fourth because I was listening to these roundtable podcasts and I was thinking, well, shoot, I better get in on this before he changes his mind and decides not to do this anymore. I just was like, I have FOMO, fear of missing out. So I jumped into the one-on-one in August of 2016. And that was when I slowly began my climb out of the hole. We call it the shit hole because it was just so bad and I felt so terrible. I slowly crawled out by sending in Joshua questions and they would send written answers back to us. So that was like just life-changing in and of itself. And then in March of 2017, we all went on a cruise, a Joshua cruise. And that was kind of like when it just all started clicking into place. And I developed a good connection with Astrid and Kyla. And we just kind of together, we all kind of just raised each other up through discussing and trying to be as authentic as we could and raw. And we would say, here I stand naked in front of you, just be as honest as we could with our thoughts and feelings to help each other process and work through it. So that went on obviously for a few years. And I love the community. It's like, it's like my family, my soul family. I found my soul family with these people. And then last year, Gary channeled the boot camp. And I was the very first person to sign up for the boot camp. Was
Nice.
like, I am doing this. And that was last year. And that was amazing. That was like totally focused for 56 days on this path of self-discovery, and the way that Joshua has laid it out, you've done it. It really helps you process all your fears. And I had so many fears around my kids, around traveling, around not working anymore. There was just a lot of fears that when you start to process them and work through the limiting beliefs, you realize that, it's all part of the growth process. And that was very freeing for me. So I just started this first boot camp of this year. I've started again, and I've decided to dedicate my time. I went through all the other boot camps throughout the year, but I didn't have the time to really focus and do the work daily. I still meditate daily, I still journal daily, but I didn't have the time to really do the exercises. So this time I decided I'm going to do it one more time, really focused and dedicated, because it's just a wonderful way to start the year. So, and then that's how we met.
Yeah, I mean, you're actually you're working with Gary a little bit in the coaching and
Yeah.
right. I think that's
yeah. I got to do a few of the coaching calls on Thursdays for Gary on one of the boot camps, and I absolutely loved it because that's my passion. My passion is talking about these concepts and getting your point of view and my point of view. And I feel like as co-creators, when we come together, we just keep raising each other up, up, up. And so that's where my passion's at. And I started a Facebook group called Attracting Wellbeing. And gosh, I don't even remember when, but with Joshua's help, I realized I too can channel. Everyone can channel. And
Yes.
I also have an ability to kind of tap into vibrations of animals. And so people ask me questions about their animals, and I'm able to help them and their animals work through issues on certain things, everything from being afraid to, not feeling well. Animals that have transitioned are super easy to connect with. So I'm doing a lot of that now. And with the Attracting Wellbeing, people are sending me questions, and I answer those questions for them. And I like to think of myself as a spiritual co-creator. I don't like the term coach, because to me, that's like I'm up here and I'm telling you down there how to do it. I want to come together with other people and, again, together raise our vibrations by discussing the theories, the concepts, and doing the process to work through our fears, work through our limiting beliefs, and raise each other up.
Well, the Attracting Well-being, when you receive answers, do you answer them in a channeled state, or who is answering the questions?
Yeah, I call it Wendy and Company because
Okay.
I feel like it's me, yet it's more of me. It's, of course, everything that channels bring forth is filtered through their filters. So every channel is going to bring things forth differently because of, like my beliefs, my limiting beliefs, my positive beliefs, how I was raised, what I'm exposed to. That's all going to affect what I'm able to receive. So I call it Wendy and Company because I feel like, I've got all these guides, and it's, it feels like different energies. It honestly depends on the question, on how the energies feel.
Exactly. So yeah, the same with Joshua. Joshua is obviously not one being, but many.
Right.
But for convenience sake, takes the name Joshua.
Yeah.
Because we're used to that. But I think we are also, obviously, in our normal states, we're such a blend as well, and we just don't realize it. And then it's like it's a very interesting when you begin to look at the layers of beinghood,
Yes.
and then how connected we are to everything, and in the channeled state. So you do channel writing, and
I do.
verbal,
And back to what you were saying about the blended, Joshua talks about us being blended beings. We are here in the physical now. So of course we have to deal with all the physicality of being physical, yet we are truly non-physical eternal beings. So that blended being coming together is what I call, when I'm able to relax and focus into that, that's when I receive the answers, is when I get a question. So I do both. Mostly I prefer written, just because I get tripped up with the words still. So I do a lot of written. I have done a few sessions where it's just more like this, you and I kind of just chatting, and me being able to, being immersed in this now for, 3.5 years. I feel like I have a lot to offer. It's like, don't reinvent the wheel. Let me tell you how I processed this and see if it resonates for you. So I've done a few of those, and I really enjoy that as well. So it's kind of all just formulating, and I don't know what it'll all end up being like.
Definitely. I must say that you have a very, your voice and in the podcast, you come across very strong and cheerful and energetic. And you seem like, I always had, the impression that you can naturally get yourself into a very high state.
I meditate a lot. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I meditate a lot. I set intentions. I try to make that. And of course, there's days, and it took me a long time to get to this point too, but there's days where it's just everything goes out the window and I'm totally physical,
Yes.
I'm really living in the physical world. But I try to start each morning with a meditation and set my intentions for the day, so that if I do come up to a manifestation event where it's a negative impact, I'm able to walk myself through it, process it a little bit in my head. If I'm able to write, I'll write right then and there, but most times I'm not, because I'm out and about. So I'm able to realize that, okay, somehow this is for me. Try not to get too upset. I allow myself to get upset. It's like, all right, you need to feel those emotions, let them process, let it happen, and then get back to feeling good as soon as I can. And, some subjects are easier than others. Some days are easier than others. And it just giving myself grace. I always, talk about having grace with yourself, because we are blended beings. We're physical. There's nothing, we're not going to be saints walking amongst the earth, or, totally zen all the time and blissed out all the time. That's not what we came here for. We came here for that experience of mixing it up. And I love when Joshua uses the amusement park analogy. It's like, some days I'm on the roller coaster and someday I'm on the merry-go-round. It's just like, and to just have a preference for how you want to be and do. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it when I can stay in that place. Yeah.
No, it's definitely it's all about balance and in a contrast.
Awareness.
Awareness. Yeah. I mean, we do want it. I guess Joshua wants us to relook at fear as like something that we should be more embracing. Obviously, it's a signal. It's just like the color red to green. It's just we're resisting something, and we can easily correct it. It's nothing but the fear of the fear is what's really keeping us from progressing.
It's the fear of having a negative emotion. It's all we're ever doing is feeling, right?
Yeah.
So when something comes up, you have a negative emotion. That negative emotion is, how is this going to make me feel? If something happens to my son, how will I feel? When really that has nothing to do with me. He's on his own path of discovery. I'm on my path of discovery. Everything that comes across our path is for us. So we need to embrace it and allow it and accept it as perfect in the moment. And that getting that my head wrapped around that was the biggest concept ever. It's all for us. And we just have to, like I said, something will happen and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what is he going to do if he can't, catch his flight or whatever? Well, it's all for a reason. Everything's happening for a reason. There are no accidents. There are no coincidences. Yep. Nothing is random. And, when I finally realized that's when I was able to literally take a deep breath and relax and let go of control. And I used to say I'm a reformed control freak, because I can control the shit out of stuff. I mean, I am, the ultimate controller. And so to let go of all of that has been quite a process. Joshua used to call me an aircraft carrier, and it takes a long time for an aircraft carrier to stop and turn around. So they kept saying, be patient, because I used to get frustrated if I couldn't grasp the concept.
So within the 3 years, you've really noticed a big change, in your ability to become aware of the situation and to move that ship.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
I try to
Yeah,
be a jet ski now so I can zip
exactly.
around, zip around in and out all of these manifestation events and realize that, nothing serious is going on.
No,
It's all for me in some way. And to have that, take a stance of curiosity and interest versus, oh, doom and dread or whatever. And it's really interesting and hard when you're dealing with people that don't think like this. I mean, the majority of my friends and family, they get it, but they don't really get it. I have one son, my middle son, who probably gets it the most, and we have pretty good conversations. But, when something happens and I'll say, oh, well, let's see where it goes. It's meant to be. It's for us. Let's see where it goes. And it's like, oh, what do you mean? We just, whatever the problem of the moment is, it's hard to just have that sense around myself where I can be an example of alignment and then allow the inspiration to come through to get the ideas that, we need for the solution or whatever.
absolutely. It's a new way of thinking, and it takes getting used to. It
Definitely.
takes practice, but you've been on it for, like you said,
A
3
while.
years, and
Yeah.
it takes lifetimes. Obviously, it will never. I don't know. It's actually our instinct. As kids, we instinctively know this. So
Yes.
what we're,
Yes.
what we're told in school is that instinct is a bad thing for humans.
Mm-hmm.
Our
Mm-hmm.
instinct for sexuality bad.
Mm-hmm.
Even eating is bad because you're supposed to eat certain things in certain quantities, but everybody's different. So
Right.
that kid knows exactly his body needs. His body's telling him
Mm-hmm.
that, but it
Mm-hmm.
gets so distorted through our idea that everybody's the same. That
Yeah.
this is another concept
Oh
that
yeah. I was just thinking about that the other day. Like I said, I have 3 boys, and I was thinking about it snowed for the first time in Virginia, and my grandson got to see snow for the first time. So he's out in the snow, and this triggered some thoughts in me. And it was like, I used to tell my sons, they'd be outside playing, and I'd be like, come inside and put your jacket on. You're going to catch a cold. And I thought, how ridiculous is that? If you really think about it, how ridiculous
yeah.
is that? They're intelligent little beings. They're going to know when they're cold or hot or not or whatever. Yet I'm telling them, you need to come in the house right now or you will catch a cold. It's like, I just, and that's to your point, that's how we were all raised. And to get out of that mindset and just, I used to say, it's like turn the other cheek, the biblical term, turn the other cheek. To me, I'm looking over here. If I turn my cheek and simply look over here, I have a whole new perspective. And
Mm.
so whenever anything comes up that I feel a little bit negative emotion about, I'll remind myself, turn your cheek, look the other way, get a new perspective. And, it's just a process, and it's constant, as you know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
constant.
I mean, it is constant. It becomes like you speak automatically. In a positive way now, and I've come just to where you just don't dwell too much in negative thought.
No,
Just like
no.
it's most, maybe in the past it was 50-50 or 60-40,
Mm-hmm.
but now 30-70, 20-80.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so it's like it doesn't even. I don't think it will affect you long. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Right. No, yes, I get what you're saying. Like I used to something would happen and I'd cry and be so upset for days. Now it's like, I want to cry. Like I can't even
no.
cry because I'm like, well, this is silly. It's for you. Why are you getting upset? And it's a wonderful way to live. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I do it all the time. I have my moments. I mean, right now I'm getting ready to go to Virginia for 10 days. And, I worry. Like, okay, well, if I got everything, do I need it? Is my dog going to be taken care of? I mean, and I have to stop myself and go, that's the old approach. The new approach is everything is working out perfectly. Everything and everybody involved is going to have the exact perfect experience they intended to have. So let's go,
The example of you're a kid, like letting him go out and without a
A
scarf or
jacket, yeah.
a jacket, it's maybe he's meant to get a cold and stay home and read a book that changes his life. There's some, the manifestation events, kids are actually better equipped to deal with them probably than we are, because they don't have any you know, ways they know what they feel. They like, we don't even know what we feel anymore. We kind of,
Right.
we're like, do I really want that? You know,
Yeah.
a kid knows he wants it or not. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. And
obvious.
that was like with Joshua, when I was doing the one-on-one written questions, it was like, well, whose desire is this? This is not my desire. Why am I so attached to this when it's not even truly what I desire? It's just what I've been told to
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me. So that was like another eye-opening moment. And so now if a limiting belief pops up, I always ask myself, is this my limiting belief, or have I adopted this from somebody? And 9 times out of 10, I've adopted them, either from
Mhm.
parents or society, or, you know, something I've read. And it's really, I a very empowering way to live.
No, definitely. And I actually had Isabel on the
Oh,
show, and
yeah.
she
Izzy Busy.
exactly, you're close to her, I think, and very cheerful person like you, and very energetic. And had a wonderful discussion with her, and she has her podcast. It's Attracting Wisdom,
Yes.
and the only episode I listened to was the last one, and I'm gonna listen to more of them. But it was with you, I think, and you were doing
Oh, wow.
so I'm gonna jump
Yeah.
right in there. So it's like, it's
Okay.
about past life regressions, and
Yeah.
it was like about Atlantis, or now I also found a connection with Atlantis. You know, a feeling of that was our home, and
Yeah. I mean, and
we're
it makes
building.
sense, you know, we've all kind of come from many past lives, and, you know, where we started, that makes a lot of sense to me. And
I think
Egypt is a big one.
I would agree. I guess the Atlantis in Egypt, but more Atlantis is the idea. It just sounded like what we're doing now. Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
doing a second, but even better. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just different, I guess. But it's
Mm-hmm.
going to, it seems like, it sounds cheap, but the female energy is going up quite a bit, and
Yeah.
we're seeing less competition, at least
Yes.
feeling it. And I have a feeling, this thing with the Iran's come up, but it's not even on my radar, this stuff. But wars, I think it's going to start petering out, and we're going to come to a stable kind of, well, we don't want to be completely stable. I don't
Right.
think that's the point. But I get the impression that we're being shown Atlantis, these lives in particular, because they do have some sort of parallel to our situation now,
Oh,
of
yeah.
what we can choose to be. And that's why I thought it was very interesting, your experience when I heard you.
Yeah.
You were also saying you had a connection to Kyla, and it was interesting because in
Yeah.
this life you also have a connection to her, but you had many lives before, and I think that's
Yeah. The soul family group. And that's what I
right.
feel like I've found my soul family again with all the Joshua people group. And what were you saying about Isabel does QHHT, which is
Right.
quantum healing, something hypnosis therapy or something. And it's really, I mean, if you get a chance to do it, it's very interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's all just part of our process. And like you're saying, what the world is changing. We are on the first wave of this ascension, the ascension of the human race. And so for us, it's all, very new and kind of foreign, yet we've experienced it before. And we're kind of just like leading the way or opening the way for others to follow. So it may take a generation or two, but I agree. I think things are, and then you've got like the fires in Australia, and people are saying that, the climate change and all these things, all these doomsday kind of things are happening. And I just can't believe that it's the doomsday. You know what I mean? I feel like there's too much of a undersurge of people wanting to ascend, wanting to accept, wanting to be, one with all. I mean, look at I love all the gender, the things that are going on with gender
Oh, yeah.
neutrality and,
Yeah.
your gender preference. And I don't understand it all, so I'm not going to try to, discuss it, but I love that, just because I'm in a female body doesn't mean my
Right.
energy is all female. So the fact that it seems like it's mostly younger kids are recognizing that they're their pronoun is they. I'm like, that's brilliant. You know what I mean? It's like, that's brilliant. Of course, it's not just a he or a she. We're a group within ourselves as our inner being, and all of our guides that are always with us and supporting us. So I agree. I think that, the whole wave, I don't know if I'll see it this time around, but next time around,
Definitely. It's funny you mentioned about the gender ideas, because I see that with my kid's school. My son is in first grade and my daughter's in fourth, and they're in the same elementary school at the moment. And what I'm seeing is it's just open embracing between boys and girls, holding hands. And this is not necessarily, this is not sexuality necessarily, but it's something it's a very open. And I
got goosebumps when you said that. Yeah.
Because when I went to school, I'm sure when you went to school too, there was no hugging. You would be called gay if you,
yes.
But these kids, they're roughhousing, but they're not hurting each other. It's
right.
And they're in this school also, they're running all around. It's a public school, but they have so much freedom. And I know that these kids chose this school. I mean, I didn't choose it. I chose, but it's like this is the system.
They're ready for it. Yeah, well, they came in ready for that. Exactly.
The system changed.
Fact that the system has really changed. And I love the idea of no more boy things and girl things. Like there's boy colors and girl colors. How stupid is that? Boy jobs and girl jobs. You know what I mean? It's like, it just, I always thought that. I've always had that inherent sense that that's just silly. Yet, it's drilled into you from a very young time. Boys don't play with dolls and girls don't play with cars. It's like, why not? Some of my fondest memories are my brother and I have a younger brother. Well, I have two younger brothers, but one of them is just 2.5 years younger. And we would play and we would take turns. Okay, now let's play dolls. And then we would go play cars. And so we were really practicing all of this without realizing we were practicing it. That was a long time ago.
No, but I mean, it's definitely one's own life, well, how do you say it? In your kids, and I know that that's what kind of connects us too, because I'm very close to my kids, and on the shows your kids are older, but
right.
It's funny, you can use them as a very intimate mirror of yourself too, and your own development. So the happier I see them and the freer I see them, and I'm doing nothing really, I'm just myself opening up and I'm letting them be who they are. They're expressing their natural state. And it's, when you're out in the past, you're supposed to be quiet, tell the kids to be quiet when they're around. I don't even try anymore.
No,
and they're just like, and they hit each other and everything, and then somebody cries, but I don't really, it looks harsh, but when when one comes to me with a finger, it's like, I'm supposed to make judgment in the past, like, oh, you were the bad one, you're the good one, or you're both bad. And no, I just like, oh, it's not a big deal. And guess what? The kid forgets it.
Yeah.
And you don't feed into that, and they slowly they get immune to feeling this kind of pain or this whining about pain. Like we're taught to feel pain. We're taught to feel like it's a big deal, and pain is not a big deal.
For you. Let me give you attention now because you're hurt. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But like most things when you're kids, like scratches, bruises, and stuff like that, it's a wonderful way. Like skateboarders are big. I admire skateboarders because they show us the boundaries are limitless.
Yes.
Because what they're doing is they're jumping over flights of stairs in the beginning, they know they're going to fall down 90% of the time. And then when they fall down, they don't fall down but they get up, they bleed, and there's such camaraderie, but they're learning to deal with the pain. No, they're not going to die. And that's such a beautiful spiritual gift too. Once you realize, they know a lot of these guys know they're somehow immortal. It's obvious.
Yeah.
They say that they don't believe that they're, we all die in this life, but it's like, you get that feeling in yourself, like, you can do anything you want. And kids show us that. Kids invented skateboarding, as you may know, in California, where they just, like, adults invented this skateboard thing, and they did boring, little little tricks,
That was back
handstands.
in my early days. Yeah.
But you didn't know what to use it for. You're like, oh,
Right.
it's kind of cute. And then holy shit, all of a sudden they're going in pools and doing flips
Yeah.
and they're just like
Yeah.
little 8-year-olds, 9, 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that was definitely from non-physical coming out so freely, uncontrolled. And then now it's built into a big sport. And
Yes.
it's amazing
And what a way to experience physical. You know what I mean? Like to really, they're really experiencing their bodies. They are pushing these little suits that we're in to the limits, knowing that it's, their process. It can come out however they choose to have it come out if they have the right mindset and work through that process.
There's
and the kids nowadays so far down. When he knows how to swipe and he's not even allowed to have screen time and he still knows how to swipe and do this stuff intuitively. So It blows my mind. Yeah. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's the question is like education. What does education mean now? It's like it's like rote learning doesn't make sense anymore. These guys already have their talents in them. They're already just need to be a little water and sun.
Yeah.
And
good point. That's like their talents are in them. Fabienne is she's in our group and she's a teacher or professor in France and or maybe England. I'm not sure. Maybe she's French and she's in England. But anyways, she's of this thought and she wrote a book and stuff and then the whole process. And that's a wonderful concept. You have a talent and the educational system should just be there to bring out your talent, not to force you to do math, do reading, do writing, whatever it is, but to bring out whatever your talent is. That's exciting. I like that.
It is. No, I mean, my kids went to kindergarten was Waldorf, the Waldorf concert. And then they kind of on their own, they also wanted to go to the normal school. And Waldorf was also kind of esoteric and spiritual and there's a lot of freedom there. And I realized that, it's exciting to know what's going to happen for the future because especially when you look at also like I talked with Gary also about YouTube and all these young kids and stuff. What they're creating it's totally of their own imagination, going on the streets, doing things and creating. They have no plan. They're just creating something exciting in the moment.
Yeah.
And that excitement, it kind of comes through the videos. That's why they get so many views because, maybe an older somebody who doesn't understand or looking like, what's the big deal here? But that enthusiasm and that energy, it's so palpable. And Joshua talks about like, obviously when kids are born, when they're born, they get the energy of the earth at that time. And the earth is always progressing. But we're not progressing as quickly as the earth is because we're resisting the natural evolution of ascension of the earth. So my kids are obviously have already jumped in front of me by just being born, and so I have my, just my programming and everything. And I was born 1979. So, I have that energy, I have limits probably to how much enthusiasm or how much, but it's okay. I can still.
But and through these teachings, you can process that, so you can be more open. You can have less resistance, and I mean that's a wonderful gift to give to your kids. That just allowing them to be who they are and not trying to fit them into a little box. And that's I see that with the kids all the time. It's like they're just trying to express themselves and they just get shut down. And I don't think this new generation that's come in, I don't think they can be shut down. I'll use my grandson again. Both my son and his wife are very, strong people. They know what they want, they know what they like, and they were strong children. They demanded that they had what they wanted, and so now they bring forth this little guy. Of course, he's going to be stronger than them. And like my son will say, "Mom, I don't know. He just, we tell him no, and he says, I know. He just does it how he's going to do it." And I said, "Well, that's him. That's his true nature. And your job is to find a way to accept that and allow him to be who he is and squelch it, because that's his greatness. That's what, as that is like with your kids, as that is flourishing within them, that's who they will be. That's what they're bringing forth into this reality. And they're the ones that are going to, fix all of this.
Well, I don't know if well, Josh would say it's not broken, but
No, it's not broken. I'm sorry. With our whole ascension process, with the
Yep.
no wars and accepting everybody and
right.
judgment and all that, these are the kids that are coming in. They are ready. They know what needs to be done.
Yeah. There are teachers in many ways. It's and Joshua also talks about that. Obviously, just like our main thing is just to make sure they don't die.
Right.
Like
exactly.
You're being a good mom or a good father.
If they don't die. Yeah.
Now,
I know Kyla would always have those conversations, and Joshua would say, "Are they dead?" And she'd say, "No." Then you're doing a great job, because she has her ex-husband is very traditional and very structured and very much a rule follower and very judgmental. So those kids have come in with opposite polarities of contrast. I mean, what an experience they're getting.
Yes.
And I mean, I just give her so many props for staying authentic, staying in her authentic self when it comes to the teachers. They're in Catholic school now, and the ex-husband, and she stays in her authenticity, and that's,
I mean, obviously with relationships, we choose our mates from non-physical too. It's interesting how we really often seems like we intentionally want somebody to be that controlling aspect, and the kids probably want that too, to have that contrast. It propels you forward, I guess, to Bashar talks about the rubber band concept, where what we're doing is we're pulling back a rubber band, but once you release it, it shoots off so far. So our resistance is, it's serving something, so once we, either in this life or non-physical, whatever, but it will, has the potential of, propelling us so far, just, these conditions that we've grown up in, and what we've, and how that, that breeds these desires, and I think, it's definitely, the earth has breath, a desire, I think, for a new age. It has its own agenda too, I think, and it's like,
definitely.
And the kids are, may probably be more in touch with the earth too. And, I think that's some beautiful things coming up.
I'm sure. And back to your point on resistance, how do you know good without feeling bad? You have to have that polarity or the duality that we experience in physical. In non-physical, you don't have that duality. It's always, you don't know pain, you don't know disappointment, you don't know judgment or being upset. So coming here, we're able to expand through those things. And probably one of the biggest turning points for me was to look at that positively versus a judgment or a feeling bad or something, and oh, this is terrible, why do I have to feel this way? But versus now I look at it as, oh, okay, this is interesting. Why am I feeling this way? What's going on? What is the message here? And I don't know if you know from the podcast, I get migraines, and I get migraines a lot, even though everything I've been through. But I have to tell you, 99%, there's a message with every migraine. I am holding back, or I'm resisting, or I'm controlling in some nuanced way that I wasn't even aware of until the pain comes. And when the pain comes, I stop and say, okay, I'm ready. What is this? And I will get that message that, you're controlling over here where I didn't even know I was controlling, or I'm resisting something over here that I didn't even know I was resisting. So that to me was a big difference, because like you were saying, when your kids scratch your hand growing up, that was a way to get attention. Like my mom was very always, depressed, upset, something. And that was her way of getting attention. So of course, me and my brothers adopted that because that's what we knew. And so for many years, people would say, how are you? And it was like a badge of honor to say, oh, I'm so exhausted. I haven't felt well in days, versus why am I focusing on that? There's so many good things in my life, yet I'm focusing on, I have a headache, and that's just, again, just a different way, a new approach to life.
That was it's funny because I never had a migraine and I don't really get headaches. Everybody has their own kind of physical manifestations.
Everybody has their thing.
But it's interesting because, I think Joshua also spoke to you about the fact that it puts you out. So it's in a way, it's a good thing too, because you can't do anything, right? I mean, I know it sounds cruel for me to say.
I know,
there's
but
a good,
it's the
because your
truth.
pain, I know, but you've noticed it, you realize it, and so you
Yeah.
stop what you're doing when you have a migraine, or how do you process that?
Well, lately, for the last probably year, I've been getting them in the middle of the night, which I find really bizarre. Here I am sound asleep and I wake up to this pain. And I mean, I've had many different theories from different people about, what's going on with my energy and stuff. But I feel like now, I used to think, oh my God, I'm so tired. I can't get up. I get this headache. I'm not going to be able to get up in the morning. Now I wake up like, oh, okay, it's here. I have a routine. I get up, I go outside for a few minutes. I take a few breaths of fresh air. I get an ice pack. I sit on the couch or sofa with my dog, and I just go into the pain. I go into it and try to step out of it. So I have the pain, yet I'm not the pain, if that makes sense.
Has this made you, like, for example, my skateboarder example, where these guys keep on hurting themselves, that pain doesn't mean much to them anymore. Is this similar, maybe, that you began, in general, you could apply this to many other pains too, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But you learn to have a certain relationship where you don't take it so seriously. And
right.
Yeah.
I try not to make it wrong. You know what I mean? It's
right.
not wrong. It just is. This is what I'm experiencing in this moment. This moment is perfect. Okay. So I will just sit and basically relax and, again, try to step out of the pain. And when I'm able to step out of the pain, that's when I receive the inspiration. I'll receive an inspiration for an idea, or look at this differently, or, don't be so uptight about whatever. And it's always some kind of a message. And so my goal now is try to kind of like figure out how I can get these messages without having the pain, yet it's a process. So I'm also accepting the process and knowing that when it's time for me to not have that pain, it will leave. And, don't get me wrong, I still take, the aspirin, the ibuprofen, and for the pain, but I also I used to try to just like, push it away. No, I don't have a headache. Oh no, I don't have, I'm fine. Now it's like, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm here for a reason. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be present and see where it takes me. And it's actually, like my husband said the other day, you don't seem to be getting upset anymore when you get a headache. And I'm like, no, it is what it is. And I'm just experiencing it. And so that was a big change for me. So I'm sure that other things will come of that. Now that I've made that shift, other things will come, and who knows what that'll be.
No, it's an interesting process. I mean, it's not your soul's intentions must have been very strong to put such a crux on you, or
yes. And have you ever taken one of those personality tests where it's like a disc test and they say you're very outgoing or you're very intuitive, or okay, so when I take those tests, people are always amazed because my true nature is very allowing, accepting, going with the flow, creative, not conforming. But I have taught myself, because of the mom I chose, I became a perfectionist. I had to do everything perfectly to get her love, to get her acceptance. At least that's what I perceived as a child. So I became a perfectionist, and that's where my controlling aspects came in. With I would control everything so it would be perfect at all times. So I have that's very strong. So, I mean, I feel like I have this very strong barrier that I heard Pink Floyd's song the other day, Another Brick in the Wall. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
that's brilliant. That's me. That's my life. This is just, each of these
Yeah.
things is just another brick in my wall. I can choose to look at it as I'm taking bricks out, or I'm putting bricks in to form, you know, the life that I intended to live. And so I don't judge it anymore. I used to judge it. I used to feel so bad and so like unworthy because didn't feel well. It's like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, what's wrong with you? You know, why can't you just feel better? Why? I went through with the Lyme and the fibromyalgia. I went through every
Mm-hmm.
test. I tried every remedy. I spent literally thousands of dollars, and nothing worked because it was all within me. It had nothing to do with, you know what I mean? I was creating it, obviously, within myself.
Yeah.
So all these concepts, I mean, I feel like every day I just take one more step, one more brick in my wall that's, you know, leading me down this path to who I truly am. And that's exciting. That's fun.
That is, I mean, it's funny because you actually said you just caught yourself. You were saying a perceptionist and you meant perfectionist, but I think maybe,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
there's something very similar between the two. I think that
Yeah.
you know, do you want to perceive that things are not perfect as they are?
Uh-huh.
If you don't perceive things as perfect as they are, then you think you have to do something to
You
make
have to
them
fix it.
perfect, but you can't because they are perfect. So
Yes.
it's a circle of doom where people get themselves. And what if we're creating this reality on our beliefs? That means that table that you're cleaning, you know, you may get it clean, but then it's, you know, because you need work for your perfectionism, the universe is going to have a kid throw something on the carpet later because you need that. You're a perfectionist, and you
Exactly.
need your task to
Yep.
perfect. And
Yep.
instead of just like letting it go, and it's a, you know,
Yeah. No,
an
I totally
acting.
get it. And you know, I've always had that spiritual like inkling, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, even as a young kid, I went to a few churches with friends and stuff, but nothing really ever clicked. And then in my early 20s, I did Course of Miracles through a coworker, and it really, you know, it clicked. And then I started having babies, and my kids are pretty close, you know, pretty close in age. And so I had them boom, boom, boom. And I always say it took three kids for me to realize I can't control all of this anymore. Because with one, man, I could control the shit. I had my career, I had my kid, everything was perfect. Next kid came along, all right, still got this, I got this. That third kid came along, it was like, oh my God, okay, I give in. And that's when I feel like I truly started my spiritual journey, because I started looking at things differently. And even though I didn't have these teachings back then, I was always like different than the other moms. You know, the other moms would be like, oh, we have to do blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, do we? Do we really have to do it like that? I would at least think about it. You know, sometimes I'd follow right along and do what everybody else is doing, but I'd always think about it. And I'd always encourage my kids to, you have to behave in class, but you know, if you really feel an urge, you need to do something, you need to say it, you need to express yourself. So I was kind of like teetering with these concepts without even really knowing that I was doing it. So those girls or those people in our group that have got this at a younger age, I'm like, that's just so awesome. You know, like Kyla, for instance, have her kids so young and know these concepts. And it's just like, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's like, well, there's no time. So,
No time. Yeah.
but if you get it at the perfect moment, and then you realize that every moment in your life was
Has
leading
been
up to,
perfect.
and then you also look at the moments, and you're like, because you're just like, they were perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and I see how I created my past, and
Mm-hmm.
and then that's so I can leave it in focus now on the moment
Mm-hmm.
and whatever comes in the future, but any regret, it doesn't really exist for me, and
Yes.
because yeah, you see that it was for you, and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
that's
It's funny you say that, because my brother, who's 2.5 years younger, he has a completely different perspective on how we were raised.
mm,
I now, from working so much on focusing on being in the moment and staying in the moment, honestly, I don't remember much. I don't remember details of my childhood. I remember some feelings, but I don't remember details. But he'll remember details, and he'll be like, don't you remember when mom did blah, blah, blah? And I stop and I think, and I'm like, no, I don't remember that, because I've let go of all of that. It's the past. The only thing that matters is now. So why would I spend time dwelling on anything that's back there when it's done? I'm focusing now on moving forward, where he's still kind of stuck back there. And, I try to talk with him about things, and nope. And he's in a lot of emotional pain because of it. That he's, got his blinders on. I try to tell him, look over here. It's different. Nope. He's got his blinders on and he's looking straight forward. So yes, everything you were saying, absolutely.
No, perception is everything, absolutely. Yeah. Especially with siblings or families, we think that we have the same biography. We don't.
We don't. And
we're in the same room.
Something, and I'll be like, "Was I there?" And he's like, "Yes, you were there.
A version of you,
sure?"
Yeah. That was my other me.
And then I think, am I getting old? Am I just forgetting things? But no, it's like it doesn't. I feel like it's all it's all brought me to where I'm at. It was all perfect. It had to be perfect, right?
Absolutely. No, it's I think that's maybe a good note to end the show on, because it's, and the one thing we didn't talk about. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't talk about the animal communicating aspect. But maybe we can get to that.
Do another show on that.
Another show, because that's a very fascinating topic as well.
And that was an ability that I recognized early on. As a young child, I was doing that, and it was squashed. Just my parents were like, no, that is crazy talk. You do not, it was like, it was just stamped. So,
unfortunately, parents.
I have a Facebook group.
Okay, a Facebook group.
I have a Facebook group called,
what's it?
The animal one is Chat with the Animals, is the animal communication group. And then my other one is Attracting Well-Being, Living the Law of Attraction. And that's just more on health and wellness and, being the best you can be in this moment. And all the teachings, it's all based on the Joshua teaching. And I'm happy to, if anybody would ever like to reach out, my email is wendypierceglobal@gmail.com.
I'll put it down below.
Love to connect with you.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I'll put all your details below, because it'll be on YouTube, and they can reach out to you. Definitely encourage anybody. And they can get to know you better also through the Joshua Live or the Roundtable. And to see you there. And I'm excited.
Go back and listen to some of those old episodes. Those are really, the first episodes were just like, they were raw, and that was really good stuff.
No, but the message is,
still the same.
So and then when I go back, some episodes pop up. I've gone through them all. Then like an episode that I seem to have missed, and it was like really amazing episode. And I was like, wow. But there's a lot of treasure in there, and
there really is. And each time you listen to it, you get something new.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Wendy, I want to wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.
In California, right? Or
Yep. Southern California, Laguna Beach.
I admire you.
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
I
appreciate this every day.
it's raining here. It's dark and drizzly, but I'm happy you got your sun.
Yeah. All right, Justin, take care.
Good day. Bye.